We got James. We got Jim. We got Plain. We got Vic.
Sweet.
And we got Vic here. Hey, what's up, Vic? You ever have that feeling like you're forgetting something? Like, but you don't know what it is?
Yeah, all the time. Does that go away?
No, I do
Yeah.
it all the time. Like, and it's something kind of significant. Like, when I'm leaving the house, I'm like, something is bugging me. What is it? Like, something I really, it's going to be relevant to my day or to wherever I'm going right now. And I forget it. And Vic, my kids are used to it, okay? Because I, a lot of times, make it a mile down the road and turn around and come back. Well, as the show's starting, as the intro is going, I remembered something that's upstairs in my other office that I need for this show.
Okay.
I want to show them a box I got in the mail.
Oh, no. Is it
because
another
this
rolling
box
pin?
is going to be relevant to a little bonus show that we're planning here in a couple days.
Okay.
Somebody took it upon themselves to send me a package.
Okay? I know where we're going.
And I don't know how you know this, because did I tell you this? There's a lot of people who know what's in this box.
Well, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I guess maybe I did tell you. Okay, yeah, I remember. I did tell you, but there are other people out there that know what's in this box. Anyway, this is going to be part of a little bonus show that we're going to do here in a couple days. And matter of fact, the sender of the box is here tonight. And yes, I do love packages to Audrey. I don't know if I'm going to love this package, though. You'll find out in a couple days. Vic, we're planning a little bonus show here, probably Thursday, not guaranteed. Folks, we're busy. We are Vic is still promoting a book, and we're running around. And I was trying to figure out, how am I going to mow the lawn this week? Like, I've got some things going on, and anyway, it is what it is. But as busy as we are, I do want to say, hey, you can go to throughtheblack.com, and that's where you can find all of our junk. I always say all of our junk, our movies, which everybody's got the movie, everybody's seen the movie. But the new thing is our Ezekiel 8 apparel. You can go over there, check it out. Yeah, it is well with my soul. And the new one here, I Will Fight for You. You can check that out at throughtheblack.com. Thank you so much for the support. And Vic, we're not going to belabor this like we did last night, but hey, we are going to be in Louisville in October 14th and 15th, or 15th and 16th, that weekend. Okay. And yes, it's going to be a conference. It's going to be a training, spiritual warfare thing. Hey, you're going to be speaking. I'm going to be speaking. Some other people are going to be speaking. We're going to see some friends there. So it's going to be a great time. Come on out back to Louisville. I was just there last weekend to check it out. Hey, it checks out. It's a good place. Come on back. It's going to be good. It's going to be in October. So yeah, the Hear the Watchmen event, Advanced Spiritual Warfare Training Workshop. We want you to leave there equipped, trained, confident. So it's going to be super cool, guys.
And hey, Tom, this just in, because I just got off Zoom fellowship with Jim and Crystal and some of our Hear the Watchmen friends tonight. And they are planning a bonus side trip on Sunday at the tail end of that conference to the ARC exhibition there in Louisville. So if anybody's coming to the conference and wants to stay Sunday, we've got a nice little field trip, just like the good old days in kindergarten. We got a cool field trip.
You know what? Yeah, that's what we need, is a field trip.
Yep.
No, super cool. You know what? I was at the ARC like the day they opened it up. Not the day they opened it up, but like the month they opened it up.
Super fan.
And it was it just worked out that we could be there, and you could just still smell the brand new wood. I mean, you could smell the wood, like, up the highway.
Yeah. I've never been. So
yeah.
I'm
the day that I was there, it was pouring down rain. Okay.
Oh, that's appropriate.
Yeah, and then there was probably the biggest rainbow I've ever seen in my life. So
what? Shut up. No.
It's a
What?
big one.
Really?
It was a big one. So I'm just going to go with the biggest one I've ever seen in my life.
Well,
So,
that's crazy. That's like too cliche.
I know.
What? That's
It's been a
crazy.
few years ago. So,
Oh
yeah.
man.
And another thing I remember is my kids were arguing, and one of the things they were arguing about was the Shell Station logo. My son wanted to call it a clam, and
Okay.
and they were saying no, it's a shell. So, and they were
They're both
anyway,
wrong. They're both wrong. Do you know what
they're
it
both
is?
wrong. The scallop.
It's the sun. Look at it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's carved into the shape of a shell, so you're deceived. But this fits in perfectly with our topic tonight. It's actually an ode to the old sun god. It's the sun.
It's a sigil.
It is.
Well, hey,
Katie, pull that up.
Texaco has a pentagram in there.
It
So we're
does.
talking about sigils. Kind of interesting that these petrol companies have these interesting symbols. And yeah, we are going to be talking about that tonight. Vic, is there anything we need to just kind of refresh from last night? There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I guess it does. It does kind of look like a sun.
The mighty Ra.
So very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I like how you just said, hey, Katie, pull that up. Like, get on it.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
yeah.
Anyway, chaos magic. We kind of dove into that last night and figured out that it doesn't make any sense, but it does make sense at the same time. It makes sense that it's called chaos magic. Okay. Chaos is the key word. And the idea that the world is in chaos. Okay. And that there's no order. There's no stabilization at all. And even, and I don't know if we talked about this at all, Vicky, if we mentioned the butterfly effect. Maybe we did. I talked about it several times yesterday. But the idea that a butterfly, that flaps its wings in Texas can cause a hurricane on the East Coast. So everything mathematically has a cause and effect and a ripple effect. Well, I don't know about all that. I don't know if I want to live if that was actually true, what kind of a world will we live in with all the butterflies that there are?
Absolutely. There was, I don't know if they still have them, but like these compilation, like YouTube videos you can like listen to as you go to bed, and it's like all like horror stories, or it's all like ghost stories, or it's all like whatever. So they had butterfly effect stories, and they will give you the chills. Like they're real stories of like that people tell where just one split second decision that they made literally like altered the course of their life. And it was so crazy. And I'll just throw a little one out there just to tease you. And so these are all real stories. There was a guy back in like the 80s, and he and all his buds were going to go to this metal concert. And I can't remember if it was Iron Maiden or Metallica. It was one of those where like you had to have the shirt on. Like you can't go to this like show without like the band's shirt on. And he was digging all over it, and he could not find it. And so he winds up wearing like the wrong shirt. And then he ends up running into a girl at the concert that had the same shirt on. So then they were like, hey, let's go up to eat after the concert. So he didn't go home with his friends. And all of his friends wound up dying in a car crash on the way home. And the only reason he wasn't in that car is because he was wearing like the Barry Manilow shirt or whatever it was he wasn't supposed to be wearing. So anyway, it's kind of cool how that's kind of like how pop culture is taking it.
And I think those things are fascinating. I definitely have some stories in my life where I'm like, man, what is up? And we've talked about this before when it comes to the Bible and the codes and the complexity of the things that are in the Bible, layered, whether it's in the Torah or some stuff in the New Testament, where it has multiple meanings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there are equal distance letter sequencing codes. Okay. which will blow your mind. Okay. That's some Chuck Missler stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the people that I was watching yesterday talk about chaos magic was actually wearing a t-shirt with a Fibonacci
sequence. Yep.
curve on it. Yeah.
Yep.
And
spiral.
Yeah, the spiral. For me, I mean, the Fibonacci thing is just, what we believe is part of the design. It's just like, okay, this is not random. None of this is random, right? And to give them credit where credit is due, the chaos magicians, the witches, the Satanists, they don't believe that either. I mean, there are Satanists that are atheist, but for the most part, these people believe in some kind of deity. And one of the interviews that I did at the Pagan Pride Festival, they were even not really scoffing at atheists, but like saying, I don't get atheism, just saying it doesn't make sense to me. This whole world is spiritual. Of course, they are, leaning towards paganism and the left-hand path. But even the pagans are, don't believe in atheists, if I can have a play on words there. So, but, obviously as Christians, we don't believe in coincidence, like for the example of the t-shirt at the concert is a great story. What's the truth behind that? I don't know. A praying grandma, that's what we would say, but we don't know that. But anyway, existentialists would call it a coincidence. We don't believe in coincidence. So, another thing that we didn't really bring up was the law of attraction, because that's what a lot of this sounds like. Okay. And the law of attraction, the secret, is just another repackaging of witchcraft, right? And this is something else that we see creeping in, to the church. I've met people before that out of one side of their mouth, they're talking about, I love the Lord, I go to church, praise God, I'm in the choir. The other part is, hey, have you ever seen, this book called The Secret? I've been reading this book and man, I think there's something to this.
Well, even Norman Vincent Peale's very famous The Power of Positive Thinking, which is marketed as a Christian book, and it talks about Bible verses. And my grandpa gave me that book when I was in high school. It's just a little thing. And at the time, I thought it was a Christian book. And one of the few things I remember in that is he said, every morning when you wake up, quote the verse, "This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it." And, and just set the course of your day that you are going to praise the Lord. And I had a lot of depression back in high school. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then years and years later, I was reading all this stuff about where people were calling Norman Vincent Peale into question, not necessarily as to whether or not he was a Christian or not, but really comparing and drawing a lot of comparisons between The Power of Positive Thinking and kind of the secret and the law of attraction, and how it really was more of a psychological or a neuroscience kind of a thing than it was Christianity. And so people were kind of starting for a time to brand that book or that kind of power of positive thinking stuff as more new age. And it kind of threw me for a loop when I first read that, because I was like, man, that book really had impact on me when I was a teenager.
I'm thinking of this story, and I kind of think this fits in here right now, but years ago, I was teaching at church one night. This has been over 10 years ago. And I was in a slightly hostile environment with some intellectual people. And I kind of got some aggressive feedback, okay, from these people at church that I was teaching. And Russ, I learned, Russ called this piggybacking, okay, where somebody would say something, the enemy would come in on top of those words, okay? So the good example is, Peter, when he says, hey, we don't want you to go to the cross, And Jesus said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." Okay,
Right.
Peter's intentions were good, but the enemy was coming in on top of what Peter was saying. And that's what was going on in this class. So that night when I'm teaching, it just hit me. It was, it was a lot of stuff. It was the brain fog. It was just this oppression. And I went home that night and I felt like I was just kind of stunned, like hit with a stun gun. And I went home that night. I went to bed that night. I woke up the next morning and I couldn't shake it. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And I remember going out to my car on my break and calling my grandpa. And I said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but this is how I feel." And my grandpa immediately started praying for me and rebuking the enemy, and it lifted just like that. I mean, a very, you know what I'm saying? Tangible presence broke through the power of prayer. And I'm like, wow, that's real. I experienced that. You know what I mean? So we believe in this, and in the on the dark side, or some of them wouldn't even call it dark. Okay. They would call it Wicca or white witchcraft or whatever. They believe the same thing. Okay. They put intention and power and charging into these sigils, into these magic, into these spells. Okay. A sigil, and we're going to talk about this tonight, is like a spell drawn out in picture form. It can be a lot of things. So anyway, any thoughts on what I kind of want to mention the piggybacking here. We're going to watch a video in a second, but any thoughts on that piggybacking situation? Have you ever experienced that?
I have, and the incident that I'm thinking of in particular is, I think sometimes, so the gal who edited my book, we got to be really good friends over the course of the last year, and I just love her, and she's just a wise counselor. And we were talking one day, and she said, "Vic," she goes, one thing that I've realized is that a lot of Christians, especially ones that have like a really high tolerance for like kind of drama and trauma and all, like we can easily sort of like detach from it and move on from it, and we don't get too affected by it, and whether we've been through a lot or whatever, is that we settle for a lot of low-level spiritual warfare, is what she was explaining. She said there's a lot of things that other people would instantly detect as this is actually spiritual warfare, but in the grand scheme of the things that you've been through in life, when you've had a lot of trauma, it's just like a fly that's bothering you, and you don't even think to pray about it. And so I had a situation like that once where I got to work and I just thought I kind of got up on the wrong side of the bed, and I was just tired and didn't sleep well. And I remember texting a friend of mine, just, I don't know, more for just like, "Hey, say a prayer for me. I've got a really long work day and I don't know if I can get through it." And he, instead of just texting back, he texted back a prayer, and it was a lengthy prayer. And even though I had just sort of blown it off, like, "I'm tired, I didn't sleep well," he prayed a full-blown spiritual warfare prayer against, anything that would be oppressing me and anything that might have happened in my sleep that I don't remember. And I remember at the time thinking like, okay, this is over the top. And by the time I got to the end of that text, it was exactly like you explained with your grandpa. It was like the whole air cleared. I wasn't tired anymore. I just powered through that whole workday, and all of like sort of the anxiety that I had went away. And I remember just being shocked in that moment that if I hadn't sent that text to that particular friend and he hadn't responded in that particular way, I never would have even realized that that moment was a warfare moment. And I do think a lot of times we live in a very mental health conscious, self-aware culture nowadays. We talk openly about how we feel all the time. And so we have all this language about, "I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm tired, I'm hungry." And we have 100 things we can blame our mood on before we'll ever even think spiritual warfare. And it's not that the devil's around every corner, but I spent my whole life saying like, okay, well, I'm depressed. Well, I'm anxious. I just haven't slept. And it just makes me wonder how many of those those moods or those days or those weeks that I struggled, it could have easily went away if I had just seen it through spiritual lenses and attacked it with a prayer and just been done with it.
Wow. Yeah. So much to say there. You know, sometimes I talk to people and they'll tell me they're depressed. And what I encourage them to do is, examine their life. Is there anything that in your life that would cause, depression? Because there's things that can happen. There's circumstances. There's, just things that happen in our life that can cause depression. Now, if it lasts more than a couple of days, then, that's a concern, right? Some people tell me about, well, I got this going on. I got that going on. I got that going on. I was like, yeah, well, I'd be depressed too, if I had all those things going on, or if I was making these bad decisions, or, you know what I mean? So I guess I want to be careful about, how I say this. There's a lot of people that are on medication for depression, and I think it has its place. It's a tool, but I think we should also look at not being on it long term. Now, I'm not a doctor. I would never tell anybody to go off their medication. Okay. But I also believe that, I've seen where people have come to me and said, hey, I'm depressed. Can you pray for me? And I'm like, yeah. And I pray in Jesus' name and pray against the depression and the oppression, and it breaks. And they're like, wow, how'd you do that? I didn't do anything. I'm just a friend. You could do it yourself. You know what I mean? But when we're in that mindset, we don't feel like it. You know what I'm saying? We don't.
Yeah.
And we're not thinking. The enemy has a way of hitting us where we don't know it's him that hit us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, let's get into that video.
So sent this over to Katie, and this is you know what, Vic, this kind of goes along a little bit with the show that we're going to be doing on Friday nights called Audiotopsy. And you sent it to me for that, but I said, hey, let's do it now, because this is Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, and he's talking about using rituals, okay, and Satanism to do curses, and his experience doing it. So let's go ahead and check this out.
Christian now, but wasn't always.
My mom was a Jehovah's Witness. I was brought up as a witness, and I revolted into the witchcraft because I hated going out and knocking on people's doors.
Yes, witchcraft. As a teenager, Mustaine says, he cast 2 hexes. The first was on a bully who sucker punched him.
From what I heard, he got in a car accident and something happened to part of his body that I had targeted in the hex. And that showed me that it was real.
The second was on a girl he was in a class with.
Everybody wanted her, including me, but she was so out of my batting average and just totally out of my league. And I did it, and the next day she was in my apartment.
You were convinced that these hexes, spells that you were casting worked.
I was, and I do believe in the dark side. Most people think that, black magic and witchcraft and stuff like that isn't real or it doesn't work. And I know that it works.
Mustaine's fascination with the occult continued into his adulthood.
I was doing a lot of blood packs with people. This is before we found out about AIDS. It was real simple stuff where you cut your thumb and you rub it with somebody else and become blood brothers. I don't want to make a spiritual covenant and mixing my life with somebody else who I don't know who they are or how they are. The Bible said that blood is life.
And like so many people we have met, Mustaine believes that he opened the door to demonic forces, which had a profound impact on his life.
Was your abuse of alcohol related to the satanic influences that you'd been dabbling in?
I'll say this. Every time I drank, I did not always do activities that were satanic, but anytime I had been doing anything that was satanic, I had been drinking.
So
does that make sense?
Yes, it does. There was a relationship then.
Absolutely.
There are some songs Mustaine will no longer sing. Like Megadeth's cover of the Sex Pistols' Anarchy in the UK. And he says he believes he's better for it.
I think that I'm more dangerous now that I've become a Christian than I ever was before when I was trying to go the opposite route, because I'm armed with the truth now.
So I thought that was interesting. On Friday, we're going to be talking about the Ozzy Osbourne song "Over the Mountain." Okay. And, Ozzy has a lot of alcohol and drug abuse in his life. And there's a crossover there where he, in the song "Over the Mountain," we're going to see some, things that he was singing about. And Dave Mustaine there is just talking about the connection of alcohol and his involvement, in Satanism and how that played a part. So I don't know, kind of interesting there. But hey, guys, tune in on Friday night, by the way, to check out the show Audiotopsy. Again, we're going to be having a special guest that night, and just kind of just going down some rabbit holes and talking about this song and this type of music, especially, and where it leads and what was going on back in the 70s and early 80s. And Vic, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I don't know how we even got what we got in an hour. I'm sure we'll be exploring that on more than one episode. And just so people know, because this is a new thing that, we did an Ozzy song, or we're going to be doing an Ozzy song this week, but it's not always going to be metal. We're going to be kind of exploring a whole gamut of music and just analyzing lyrics and the worldview and how they pertain or don't pertain to the biblical worldview. And we just want to have fun with it and hopefully get a new audience in who might not typically tune in to Through the Black. So music is just something that me and Tom have in common and love to talk about. And some of the shows we've done in the past about music, like the Blind Willie Johnson episode and stuff, just seemed pretty popular with people. So we thought we would expand upon that. And I think it's going to be fun.
No, it's going to be fun. And Vic, just what you said, we're hoping to reach other people. If people are doing a search, and we put in the keywords or the hashtags or whatever, and these things, come up and they're like, oh, okay, what are these guys saying? Hopefully, a seed will be planted. They'll hear the gospel. And that's what we want to do. We want to reach out to them, not only with what we're, presenting in that show, but also what we present, all week long. So who knows? We're very aware that we have eyes on us, watching what we say, and hey, that's okay with us. We invite everybody to come on over. Vic, Satanic Sigils. What do you tell us what you know, or how do you want to start this off?
Yeah, well, I think it's important too to have to put a distinction between there's sigils that people create for their own personal use, and it's a sigil that no one else is going to see but them. And after you're done with your sigil, once you go through all of the activation, a lot of people will burn it and then they kind of put it out of their mind. And so there's sigils out there that people will never see. It's just something personal. But then there's sigils that are for the public square, and they're being used in a very public way that have sort of a double meaning to them. There's the meaning that is presented to the public, and then there is the real meaning that people with esoteric knowledge of the symbol have. And so I think it's important to make a distinction between sigils that are being created for a personal use that never leave the confines of a person's four walls, and the public sigils that are out there in logos, and like we were talking at the beginning of the show, and that are out there for the world to see with very specific purposes to them.
So yeah, sigils, again, when we're talking about chaos magic, I mean, they're used in chaos magic, they're used in ceremonial magic, okay, and they are believed by the practitioners to be very powerful, okay, like you said, can be very personal, can be something that's put out there, okay. I've been walking down the streets of Columbus, Ohio before, and I've seen sigils. I did a live show somewhere, it's in the archives, but I did a live show, and showed the sigil that was on the lamppost. It was put in a sticker. And I you know, I know that it was put there for a very specific reason. You know, there's a strong satanic presence of satanic covens and witches and practitioners in Columbus, Ohio, and they take their craft very seriously. So anyway, yeah, there you go. She found it. Interesting. Go ahead and will that play? If that plays, go ahead and play it. This is going to be a surprise for me, folks. So, and anyway, as there's a little bit of space in the video as that's going on, I was going to kind of just that's down, actually down by this area. And listen to what this guy has to say. I just I wanted to go live again because I need to report on something right here. So showing some of the artwork in the alley next to, actually I don't want to say where I'm at because I just don't right now. But anyway, just kind of doing a little report from today. After I did the last video, I went and talked to a few of the business owners to kind of give them a heads up that people were doing rituals out in their parking lot. Two of them, one guy was just like indifferent about it. He was just kind of freaked out. The other guy was thankful. He was like, he understood what I was trying to do, that I was trying to warn him. And even though he wasn't a Christian, and then the third guy kicked me out of it was a pub or a bar or something there, and he cussed me out. So anyway, great day.
I'm over here. I think this is Indianola Avenue. I don't know, corner of Hudson and Summit Street. I
didn't want to say where I was, but I did anyway.
Anyway,
I noticed that.
Somebody pointed out to me is that somebody is putting up magic sigils on the lamppost. Okay, and somebody is marking out and claiming some territory in this area. So I'm going to walk through here and show you guys what's going on, what's up with this. And I just want to explain to you, this is not to be taken lightly. This is serious stuff. Somebody is doing some dark magic down here, and they're claiming some ground, and they're trying to dirty the air. Okay, and they're marking out points, they're marking out areas. Now, I don't know to what extent these guys are doing this, but this is not some light level stuff. So I'm gonna turn this around and walk down here. First thing we're gonna see is like a sticker type of thing, something that was printed out that was put here. Okay, so this symbol has definite meaning, and it has definite meaning, you know, being on this pole. It's not here by accident, and I don't know the reason behind it. I don't know why, but I'm assuming it's not good. So yes, we renounce it in the name of Jesus. We pray that it would be broken. Now down here, there was a hand-drawn one, but it got torn down. So I'm gonna show that, what's left of that right here. So here you can see somebody was making a sigil, but the person that tore this down told me about it. And somebody is doing this for magic, for dark magic. So
okay, that's enough. Anyway, you get the idea. Thank you, Katie, for finding that. So forgot about that. Anyway, so I'm out today on the bike trail, and I was going for a run in between everything that I'm doing, and I remembered, I was like, oh, there's a sigil down on this bike trail. And I shot a video that was really just kind of hard to see because the asphalt is black, the paint was black, and then it rained on top of that. So it was almost impossible to see. But there was a sigil of Lucifer. So I'm going to have Katie go ahead and bring up that one website if she has it ready. And some of you guys have seen this before. We're not going to go through and identify all of these different sigils, but this is an example of the sigil of Lucifer. All right. And if you blow that up, I'll read some of that, what that means. Katie, sigil of Lucifer, the meaning and symbolism behind the seal of Satan. Carrying on with our articles on occult symbols, we will be examining the mysterious sigil of Lucifer symbol in today's post. Let's get right into it. Here's everything you need to know about the Lucifer sigil, its meaning, history, origins, and uses. So that's, by the way, if you watch my video on Facebook, that's the symbol. It was hard to see that was on the ground. Okay, and I also after I shut off the video, I saw a pentagram that I missed and some other stuff, and the one thing under the bridge, it said hell this way and it pointed that way. I don't know if people were marking off, that they had done a ritual there. I don't know why they would want to do it beforehand, but maybe, again, marking their territory like an animal. What is the sigil and what are they used for? First thing first, let's get some vital information for the ones who are uninformed about the ways of magic in the occult world. A sigil is a sign symbol used in ritual magic. Sigils are mostly associated with entities like jinns, demons, and angels. They are considered to be signatures and symbolic representations of these entities and are used to call them forth. So there again, the sigil of Lucifer. Sigils can be found in magic books called grimoires, and the grimoire named The Lesser Key of Solomon contained one of the most extensive lists of sigils, if not the most extensive. This book contains sigils, a total number of 72 demons. Now on to the original, the origin of the sigil of Lucifer. There it is again. Where did the sigil of Lucifer come from, and what is the origin of the symbol? Although the exact origin of the sigil of Lucifer, the Lucifer symbol, also known as the sigil seal of Satan in Sigillium Luciferium Satanis Diabolus, is not known, is believed to date back to the 1400s. It said first documented use of the Luciferian sigil was at the grimoire called Grimoire Vernum, which is mostly believed to be written in the 18th century, although some sources state that it might have been written in the 16th century by Albec the Egyptian. What is the meaning of the sigil of Lucifer and how is it used? The sigil of Lucifer is mainly used to call forth and communicate with Lucifer Satan during rituals. That said, there is much more to the symbol than just use of magic. Okay, and that's enough from that. But anyway, just kind of an introduction to sigils. Okay, there's I can't remember what the website is. It might be the Vigilant Citizen or something like that, where it talks about symbols and sigils rule the world. Right, we see them everywhere. Vic, we were talking about the symbol of the Shell gas station. Okay, the star in the circle for Texaco. Now I don't know. Texas is the Lone Star State. I have actually a belt buckle that says the Lone Star State on it. And somebody called me out for having a pentagram one time. I was at a conference. It's actually my dad's belt buckle, but anyway.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm not from Texas, but I used to like Texas when I was a kid. Anyway, my dad's belt buckle that I got after he passed away. But so I don't believe every single thing that we see has necessarily an occultic meaning behind it. Okay, but I also think there are a lot of things that we wouldn't suspect that do, that we would be surprised do. That sigil of Lucifer, that's not something that you would see in graffiti, 10 years ago. Okay, somewhere. You would see a pentagram, an inverted cross, yes, but not a sigil of Lucifer. Your thoughts on, that, Vic?
So tying this a little bit into what we were talking about yesterday with chaos magic, because sigils are used in chaos magic. And I'm really asking this question because I'm just learning about this stuff. I mean, I've done cursory research on this stuff, but I'm by no means an expert. And so I'm not being facetious here. But one of the things that we learned yesterday is that in chaos magic, it's not formulaic. So if you do something once, even if it works, you don't do it again. So if you've got a sigil like this Luciferian sigil, this is the symbol of Lucifer, and you use it in this very specific ritual, then it would seem to me that you would be using that sigil repeatedly. And with the research I did on Wiccan sites, like Wiccan Academy and stuff, they say that you create a sigil very specific to that one thing that you're working on. And then once you've activated it and concentrated all your energy into it, you burn it or you destroy it, and then you put it out of your mind. And so it's not used again. And then when you do another ritual, you make a sigil very specific to that desire or that end goal. And so it seems to me that there's probably different purposes and different rules if you're using a sigil, say, because you're Wiccan and you're doing a private ceremony in your home, as opposed to if you're Luciferian and you're doing some sort of public sigil or ritual. And I'm just throwing Velcro balls at the dartboard here because.
So, Katie, if you can find it, find the comparison of the Google Play logo and the Lucifer of Satan side by side, and you can kind of share that with us. So, sigils, everybody from Wiccan to Satanists to chaos magicians to even these knuckleheads. I don't know. I'm trying to be nice, but I'm just being a little bit silly. Like these the atheist Satanists, right? So, okay, on the right, the seal of Satan, the sigil of Lucifer. And look at the look at the similarity there with the Google Play logo. Coincidence?
I was just gonna say, I'm sure it's a coincidence.
Coincidence? Anyway.
Oh.
What a quinky dink. So, okay. Let me start here, okay? Sigils are used this way, okay? They can be very personal, and they can be crafted in a way to have a specific power, okay? I watched a video today of this lady who was a witch, don't know what brand, but she was creating sigils to put on her plant pots to help her plants grow, okay? And you can put sigils on different things. Sometimes they will craft a sigil on a piece of paper and burn that paper, okay? And they talk about putting their power or their energy into that sigil, okay? And then giving the sigil, the symbol, even more power by burning it, all right?
Yeah.
Then they'll take the ashes and then do something with the ashes sometimes. They'll put, they'll turn it into ink. Okay. So they really believe in this power. Again, going back to what we were talking about last night, it's easy for us to understand because when you read the Bible and you see the devil in the details, the enemy working behind the scenes, demons showing up and appeasing these humans in a way, because the humans are appeasing the demons, and they're like, okay, I'll throw Sally a bone here. Okay, she believes this, and if he keeps her away from the gospel, and making her think she's got power, he's going to, basically keep dragging the bait along. And so whether it's to grow her plant, another one I saw was they made a sigil and they put it underneath their mattress to help them sleep better. It was a spell to help them sleep better at night. So anyway.
Well, interestingly, years ago, I remember reading that they were doing this experiment. And so if you go all the way back to early communication where they were runes, R-U-N-E-S, and these runes eventually turned into letters. And when we put letters together, we are spelling, you got the spell. And some languages, not so much English, but like Hebrew is a really good example. Each letter has multiple meanings. It has symbols. It has a numeric attachment to it. It has like a concept attached to it. I think it even, Jim would know more, it has like a musical frequency or a musical note attached to it. There's just numerous layers of information just in one Hebrew letter, which is why we can have things like the Bible codes. But anyway, what they did is they wanted to see if there were power in these letters. And so they took plants and they took a sticker and they put a sticker on two plants, and then they wrote love on one of the stickers and they wrote hate on another one of the stickers. And then they did everything the same with the plants. They watered them the same amount of sunlight, same amount of oxygen, everything was the same. And the claim of the study is that the plant that had the hate sticker on it died and the one that had love on it lived, just kind of trying to prove this experiment that that just the meaning and the significance of those runes or those letters or the spelling had some sort of tangible effect in the physical realm. So do what you will with that information. I suppose you could draw several conclusions on that experiment based upon your worldview, but that was the information put out by those who did the experiment.
In making a sigil, there's different ways of making it. You can just make it if you're an artist. You can draw a picture of what you think it is that the spell that you want to make means, right? Right. If you want happiness, you draw some kind of a symbol of what happiness means to you. Okay. There are other ways of doing it that are just kind of more, what would I call them? More formulaic or religious, like they'll write out a word like happiness or something like that. And they're trying to do a spell to bring themselves happiness. And then they'll remove certain letters. They'll break the letters down. This is in English, okay? And then they'll take those pieces of the letter and put them into a sigil. Anyway, and the important part is they believe that taken from that happiness word, okay, and then taken from what just their energy, putting it into that, okay, I don't want to make fun of them, but I don't know how that works, just abracadabra or what, how do you put your energy into something like you know what I'm saying? Just like we raise our hands in when we're praying, as a gesture or, as an illustration, that we're wanting God to touch that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, Lord, reach out your hand, touch that person, or sometimes, elders will lay hands on people and anoint them with oil and pray for them. So, but they put their energy into this symbol, through creating it and then through burning it. So I think it's fascinating. I wish that they could see the devil in the details, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's a way we can pray for people that we know that either are family members or people out wherever, in the city. I don't know who put those symbols on my bike trail, right? But somebody wants us to know that, hey, there's somebody out here, and we put the Luciferian symbol, this symbol that's been around, what did it say, since the 1400s? We put it down on the bike trail, and it's something that is becoming more in vogue. Like I was saying, we used to see the pentagrams, we used to see the upside down crosses. Now it seems to be those are more maybe. They were more fashionable. They were more maybe connected to rebellion. I don't want to make light of those symbols. Okay. We take them seriously, but this is another level. So I'm jumping around here a little bit. Vicky, help me pull this in.
So when I was studying some of this in the last couple days, I was writing down kind of like the formula. And one of the things that I've really been fascinated by as I've been researching the last few years for my book and talking about reading a lot about Kabbalah and New Age and occult stuff is a lot of times we're saying in essence the same exact thing as New Agers and occultists are saying, but we have our own language. Like we have Christianese, and so we have different words for it, but we're kind of saying the same things. And I think that sometimes we as Christians get into this mentality that something's good or bad. And what I'm kind of realizing is sometimes it's not the actual thing that's being done that's good or bad. It's how it's being used or where we're drawing the power source from. So in other words, like here's an analogy. When Moses was standing before Pharaoh and he was performing supernatural miracles, like throwing his staff on the ground and it turned into a serpent, the magi or the magicians or whatever they were called back then, they were for the most part mimicking all of the same tricks. They were all doing magic. We don't like that word magic because we're Christians. We can't use the M word. So, well, what do you call it? Like, so was Moses really doing anything different? They were doing the same exact thing, but Moses was actually, when he was performing his magic, it was supernatural. And when the magicians were performing the same trick, it was preternatural. So the event wasn't different. They were both bending laws of nature to do something that doesn't typically happen. And they were both going to a spiritual realm and borrowing that power from another realm. But one is biblically acceptable and good, and one is supposedly not. And I think this is where a lot of Christians and New Agers and Christians and occultists talk over each other and maybe sound hypocritical to each other. But I'm of the ilk, and this goes all the way back to Thomas Aquinas. Supernatural is power drawn from the creator, and preternatural is power drawn from something created. So it could be a demonic entity, it could be an angel, it could be a human being. And so it's really, I want to make sure that I'm being fair before I point a finger, because I understand that there's a lot of, we call it miracles, they call it magic, but in both cases, it's the bending of something natural, and it is the absorption of some sort of power. And so when I was reading about the sigils, they make a statement or a desire. This is what they want. And then they create a symbol around it. And then they infuse energy into it. And then they get their desired result. So we don't do that, but we really do. And so I was kind of thinking, the declaration of our statement is prayer. We form it in a prayer. Our sigil is in essence the name of Jesus. It's not a written, but when we add Jesus's name to our stated desire, so we don't just say, I really hope I get this job promotion. We say, dear God, please help me get this job promotion in Jesus' name. And so is that a verbal sigil that we're adding? And then we're definitely putting our energy into it, because we're creating all sorts of hope and faith and expectation that this thing is going to happen. So we are putting our energy into it. So I guess what I'm trying to say, Tom, is everyone on planet Earth, no matter what religion or worldview we ascribe to, we have this formula where we have something we desire very much. We state that desire, or we write that desire down. It can be a goal, it can be a prayer, it can be a declaration, and then we put our energy into it, and we have some sort of expectation that we're going to receive that, whether it's our own willpower, our own intelligence, it's through magic, it's through prayer. And so my take on this, where my musings are going, is it might not in and of itself be bad and evil that we make declarations and that we do all sorts of things to make those things come true for us. Because Christians, we do it all the time. There's things we want to have happen in our lives, and we seek means beyond ourselves to get those things obtained. So I'm wondering if it's not the actual formula that is right or wrong, but it is what power source are we drawing from, and what is necessarily the fruit or the motives behind the why of what we're doing. But I mean, I really think it might just come down to the power source that we're drawing from, because we're told not to trust the devil, that he's a liar and he's a thief, and that he doesn't have our best interest at heart, and he's our enemy, and he's an enemy of God. And if we trust him, we're going to get bit in the end. And so I don't know. I'm just musing here out loud, Tom. So none of this is vetted.
Yeah, and I think maybe maybe one of the distinctions I want to make, we have symbols, Christian symbols, okay?
Yeah.
And we use them for whatever, to identify Christian things, okay? Churches have crosses, okay? Coach Dave has a hat that he sells that has a cross on it, right? We've had that in the past. I mean, other symbols. And I don't believe that we can take a Christian symbol and put it on something and give it power. You know what I mean? Like that now that cross has been charged with the power of Jesus. Okay. And the devil can't come near that church or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's a symbol to represent, the sacrifice, of Jesus on the cross. It's been maybe dramatized in a way in movies that's a little bit, comical for us, using a crucifix against somebody that's possessed, or an evil monster or something like that. Like, like they're afraid of the cross. So, we don't believe in symbols in that way. We believe in symbols as identification. Okay. And we understand the cross, just like, taking communion, is it's a symbolic, remembrance, right? Just like, the feasts, you know what I'm saying? Things like this, these are symbolic for us, but we don't, at least us Protestants, don't put any power in these things. Now, at the same time, covering all my bases, you don't want to take communion, and do this in remembrance of Jesus and what he did, in a manner which you're not right, when it comes to your relationship with him. So, one of the things that I want to talk about, Vic, is what do we do when we see these symbols? What do they mean when we see them, first of all? And then what do we do when we see them? So let me go first, since I'm already blabbing. Like today, I don't know what that meant, okay? Here in Mansfield, Satanism is on the rise, okay? It's not to the level that it is in a city like Columbus, okay? Columbus has a satanic stronghold, no doubt about it. It has for years. It's been on the rise, and there are more people in Columbus that practice Satanism and are involved in satanic rituals, Masonic rituals, all of these things. That video was probably from 3 years ago or more. Okay, we've went to places since then where they have gatherings of Satanists down there, and there are vendors, there are stores that supply supplies for satanic rituals in Columbus. Okay. So anyway, what was the symbol doing in Mansfield? If you're out on a walk or a run or something like that, you see that under a bridge or on a tree or something, I would just pray. Okay. I wouldn't take it lightly. It could be a number of different things. We don't know what it is. So let's just assume that it's the, it's the most extreme, reason for being there, which would be a ritual site or a ritual was done, or somebody even charged that symbol. The Luciferic symbol is meant to conjure Lucifer. Okay. So is what the practitioners believe. So, I said a little prayer when I was down there today, and that's something that we can do. Obviously, God has given us authority. And if that place has been used for any ritual purpose or anything like that, or, somewhere around your town, we pray that God would break that curse, break that power, and push back any demon that has been summoned or sent. We have the authority. We've been given that when we were saved. And, it says in Luke chapter 10 that nothing will harm us. We can overcome all the power of the enemy.
So, Katie, I want you to, if you could pull up that quote from the Real Dark News article. I'm going to just read the second one, and I'm pulling it up on my phone since I'm half blind here. But so by way of sigils, this is a quote. This is a Real Dark News article I wrote a few years ago, but this is from Kirk Hammett. He is the lead guitar player in Metallica, and he is kind of known for having a lot of different guitars with symbols on it. Like he's got a couple Ouija board guitars and things like that. So he says here, as far as symbolism goes, there are different schools of thought, like how colors can influence your mood or perspective. Different symbols, like the all-seeing eye or the rose, will trigger different things in your psyche or unconscious. All this stuff is influential on some level and has impact on the person surveying it, whether on a quantum level or a more overt level. I'm really interested in that sort of thing. So the reason I like this quote is it brings up a couple aspects of these symbols where we can look at it and not know what it means. We can walk away. We can think that it's had no impact on us. But if what he's saying is true, these things tie into our psyche and our unconscious mind. Now, how that happens, I'm not sure. I think we all pretty much know now the all-seeing eye, but Rosicrucian stuff, like a lot of people nowadays are very privy to a lot of these symbols, but not everybody, like the Ginger who you did an interview with. I think we showed a clip of that yesterday, that had the chaos magic symbol tattooed with the circle with all the arrows. I don't know that the average person would know, oh, that's a symbol for chaos magic. And you see something like that and walk away from it. So what sort, and I'm not doubting it. I'm thinking through what he said. How does something that I have no understanding of or no knowledge of embed into my unconscious in an influential way if it's just meaningless to me? And I'm just asking that question in all seriousness, because it's a part of the brain that I'm just not understanding how that's happening.
So if you see somebody like Ginger, or the other, if you guys watch the Dan the Druid, he was wearing a chaos magic pentagram, okay, on as a necklace, okay. And you can see in the thumbnails of these two shows. Last night's show had a pinnacle chaos magic. Tonight it has tattoos. A guy put his sigils on his back, tattoo on his back. Talk about commitment. What do we do? Don't fear these people. Don't freak out. We just pray in Jesus' name. Father, I pray for this person's salvation. I pray that you would break the blinding, and drop the scales from their eyes and set them free. And I come against the magic that they're practicing and the summoning, the rituals, all of these things. I pray you would break that power. I pray this person would have an encounter with you and realize the truth. I pray that you would uproot, okay, the lies that have taken root in their life. And I pray that seeds of truth will be planted. Show me what I can do. How can I be a witness? Symbols are, they're everywhere, okay, and they're very they're very significant to the dark side, right? So I in my talk the other day, I was talking about this satanic clothing company that was here in Mansfield, and it's going to be actually down in Louisville too. And these guys are really, you can tell what they're up to. They're recruiting. Okay. Now, not every band that has a satanic symbol on their album cover or t-shirt is necessarily recruiting. Some of them are, and they're preaching a message, and it is what it is. But this group is a satanic clothing company, and they are recruiting. Okay. So symbols are very important to them. And we see, their t-shirts and their clothing and everything else that they sell, their purses or whatever, are covered in them. And I think we should take it seriously, and but we should pray. I think it would be almost wrong not to pray about this, because nobody else is, and they're not taking this seriously. We can assume when we see a symbol like that there's been some kind of ritual, okay, because these things are directly connected to it, right? There's some kind of ritual surrounding that. Did somebody say a prayer to the devil when they painted that Luciferian sigil on the ground? I don't know. But the idea behind the sigil is to summon Lucifer, okay? Whether he decided to go down to the bike trail, I don't know, okay? But that's the point of it. And these are going to be more of your theistic Satanists, your ceremonial magicians, whatever. This is not the undergrounders. This is not the generational Satanists. You're never going to see them coming. You're never going to be able to identify them for the most part, until a survivor, gets out and blows the whistle on them. So, I don't know. We covered a lot of ground here tonight. There's obviously a lot more that could be said about this stuff. I think we should take it seriously, and I think we should pray against the magic and the rituals behind it, and pray for the people that are connected to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think too, there's a point where we can hyperanalyze things too. Like I know when I kind of first came to the understanding of all these symbols, like maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and I remember just driving down the road and seeing all of these symbols embedded in all of the signs all the way down the freeway, and all of the logos and the branding, and knowing that, all of like the as above, so below imagery, and the certain colors that go together, and the sun imagery, and the Saturn swirls, and all this stuff. And I remember kind of getting to a place where I almost started kind of like losing my mental health, Tom, because they're everywhere. Like once you see them everywhere. And there's a point where you're like, okay, I can't wear this jewelry, and I got to get rid of everything in my wardrobe that's got this and this and this and this and this on it. And I went through this phase where I would only wear t-shirts like with solid colors. But then I started thinking, well, the red has a meaning, blue has a meaning, green, all the colors have meanings too. And it's like, I was really in sort of a meltdown state over it. So I do think too, that you're always saying that if the enemy will get you another way. And so he can get you by ignorance of, or not putting any significance to these symbols at all, and just blowing them off and rolling your eyes at them. But he can also get you to the point where you see them everywhere, and it drives you nuts. And I think the way I kind of navigated my way out of that personally was, I thought about all the times in scripture where the kings of Israel would knock down all of the Baals up on the hills. And I just know that when Christ comes back, and he for once and for all knocks down all of the idols and the Asherah poles and all of these idols that are all over the land, we're going to be shocked, because there's probably not going to be much left standing. In fact, maybe that's why there's a new earth. Maybe we are so riddled with these symbols that they're everywhere. And so there's a point where in order to just keep my sanity, I had to realize that, okay, I do take these things seriously, and there's things that I won't wear anymore. There are things in my clothing I got rid of, and I won't wear anymore. But you can get to the point where you you drive yourself insane. Like, you know, I could say, well, I'm never going to have anything in my house that it depicts an owl because of the Bohemian Grove. But God created owls and they're beautiful. And so there's a point where I think that we can let it actually drive us insane. So there's just discernment levels.
Well, yeah, Vic, I'm so glad you said that. You know, as another example, for years on the way to Russ's house, there was a gigantic billboard that was a Christian billboard that had some kind of a Christian message on it, but had a monarch butterfly on it. Okay. Now, we know because of what we do, there is there's, you know, the monarch program.
Yep.
And anytime that we see a monarch butterfly in some kind of fashion or advertising, we're like, okay, that's part of the monarch. They're sending a message. Well, the monarch butterfly was created by God. He is a very amazing artist. Okay. And we can use this butterfly anytime we wish, you know, in pictures and, you know, just to show his beauty and his creativity. You know, you mentioned the color red. I've heard that. So-and-so is wearing red, so it means something. I've got my closet is a rainbow. Now it's mostly black t-shirts, but I have a little bit of everything. And, you know, red is one of the colors of the rainbow. Okay. One of the 7 colors. So, but I get that. And, I'm glad you said that, because one of the things, I guess we call that like hyper discernment. Okay. And I've been there and I drove my family crazy with it, you know. And I remember when the owl thing, it was about 10 years ago. It was uncanny how I kept seeing it. And I learned about Bohemian Grove at the same time. Then I'm seeing owls everywhere in fashion. And I'm walking through the mall. I'm walking through Walmart and on children's clothing, owls, owls, owls. It was, and then I saw it on the band t-shirts. Okay. On the dark satanic band t-shirts. And I'm like, okay, I know what this means, but God created the owl. Okay. It's a beautiful creature. It's an amazing creature. You know, there's a lot of animals that are used to, you know, with dark imagery, you know, like bats. But bats are amazing creatures. They're so cool. You know what I'm saying? Thank God for bats.
The goat.
Yeah, the goat. Okay. And we're going to talk about the goats in the left-hand path here pretty soon. But so this question got brought up over the weekend. Somebody asked me about peace signs. Okay. So those of us that have been studying symbols and symbology know that there's like a double meaning to a peace sign. Okay. It is one of the things it's known as is the circle of Nero. I don't know where that came from. Okay. I haven't traced back the origin of that, but it's supposed to be an upside down broken cross. Okay. For me, and somebody asked this question about peace signs. If one of my kids was wearing a peace sign, for me personally, I'm not going to sweat it. There's a lot of other things going on in the world. Now, for me personally, I'm not going to wear a peace sign. Okay. And if I see, and I've had one of my kids that was part of their fashion for a while, and they were buying clothing items with peace signs, and I told them, you know, what it was, you know, and how it was popularized in the 60s with the hippie movement, and then also the other meaning behind it. And they just thought it was fashionable. Of course, you know, clothing companies put this out. They'll put a, you know, we've seen inverted crosses as fashion, right? So I'm not saying it's right, but if our reaction to this type of thing can it can do some damage. You know what I'm saying? Now, keep in mind, I'm not going to allow kids in my house to put up a shrine or an altar, okay, with a pentagram. There are boundaries and there are lines, but some things, you know, for me personally, and I'm sure I'm going to get people disagreeing with this, I'm going to be very careful about how I react to things that my kids show interest in or have questions about. This is probably a horrible example, but Johnny Cash, his daughter Roseanne was reading a book on astrology, and his take on it is she knew that he was against it, and she knew that he rejected it, but he said, you know what? He said, go ahead and go ahead and look at it, and study it. Because he believed that God was the answer. I personally wouldn't say that. Okay. I would say stay away from it. I would say these are the dangers of this. This is what it means, and I'll debunk it and show. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff. I think that's going too far the other way. I'm going to warn my kids, but I think we got to be careful about how we react, because we can push them too far the other way. I don't know. Did I completely mangle that? What I'm trying to say?
No, not at all. Because I do think, this is where it's so hard to walk the line. We're told in scripture, test every spirit to see whether it's from God, be sober-minded, be vigilant. And we're told to be good Bereans and to search out the scriptures. And so we're basically told at every pass to be on the lookout for these things and to watch out for them. And so I think where it gets scary is we're living in a generation now where if your eyes are open, you see it everywhere. And so it gets to the point where we can't boycott everything anymore, because if we had to boycott everything that, contradicted our worldview, I mean, we couldn't have computers, we couldn't have cell phones, we couldn't go to Target, we couldn't go to Walmart, there was nowhere we could go. And so there's a point where we have to learn to live in this dark place until our king comes back and rights all the wrongs and desecrates all the altars. That we do have to survive down here. And I personally don't want my joy stolen. It's very difficult on a daily basis maintaining joy. We have to fight for delight. And so I'm not going to get taken down and have my joy taken from me, because every time I walk out the door, I see a Saturn swirl in my face everywhere I go. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere you go. And so I do think that, yes, we should know these things. We should seek these things out. But we're really not going to eradicate the earth of all of these things. I'm not 100% sure we were tasked with that to begin with. And there's a point where we have to learn to still be joyful people in the midst of all the chaos.
I remember one time I was out on a mission with Russ Dizdar, and we were doing some crazy stuff, as we sometimes did. And it was during October, and the people that I happen to be riding with, were seeing all of the Halloween decorations, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this person's got to be part of a coven." What? And they thought, "Whoa, this guy's got a lot of Halloween decorations." You know what I'm saying? So they really got to be part of a coven.
He's part of 2 covens.
Yeah. I'm just like, guys, seriously. Halloween is a for most people, it's a Hallmark holiday. I'm not making light of it. We know what happens, right? Yep. It's a ritual night, and we take it very seriously. But most people don't know that.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to know that.
No.
They want to look at it as a Hallmark holiday, and it's a time to get dressed up and do goofy things. And some people get drunk and, whatever. For me personally, I'm not interested. But just because somebody has decorations on their house, I'm not like, oh, wow, these guys are Satanists.
Yeah.
We got to make, what am I trying to say? Decisions here with integrity. And if we're going around calling everybody a Satanist, then the real Satanists are flying way under the radar. They're loving it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The real Satanists you're never going to see. they look like Leave It to Beaver. Okay. And the kids that you see at the mall or wherever with black clothing on, are they experimenting? Are they doing rituals? Maybe they could be, or maybe they like some crazy music. I don't know. Maybe they're gonna just kind of float out of that fashion in a couple years. Maybe, I don't know. But do they need prayer? Definitely they do, I would say, and we can pray for them. And we can pray when we see the sigils up, and if we don't, who will, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that too. Especially down here in the South, Americana is very popular, and so there's a lot of like flag and USA America kind of lawn decor, and so everybody's got like the big American star on their barn, and oh my goodness.
Or milled pouch tobacco.
Tobacco. It's a pentagram. Oh my, it's like, oh man. It's like, obviously the person is just, if you can't tell by the 400 American flags in their front yard, they're just trying to be patriotic. But yeah, I mean, we've got to use our heads, and I mean, we don't want to go all Westboro Baptist on people.
Guys, tonight is, I was going to say tonight is Tuesday. When we started off, it was Tuesday. But what I'm trying to say, this is the Tuesday show. Tomorrow night is the Wednesday show. We have a guest that we're going to be interviewing. Want to say anything about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to be, I think we hinted around at this yesterday. We are going to have Kenny C on our show tomorrow, The Rock with Kenny C, if you want to check out his website and socials. But yeah, so we're going to hear his testimony and just be chit-chatting with him and hopefully get some guitar banter in here. I don't know, Tom, maybe we can even convince him to get that axe out and play a few licks for us. Who knows?
You better send him a text, Vic.
I'll do it.
Tell him to come prepared, okay?
Take requests.
Yes. Hey, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you tomorrow night. Good night. Hey, guys, what's going on? Tom Dunn here from Through the Black. And I want to invite you to go check out the website, resistandrescue.com. Resist and Rescue is the campaign that we started at the beginning of last year, and we really kept it rolling coming into this year, just asking everyone to join us in prayer mapping your city, prayer mapping your state, to pray for the whole world for one person is kind of overwhelming, and I don't have that kind of faith every day. But if I pray for my city and you pray for your city, your state, and we just target local areas like hospitals, like schools, and just asking God to intervene and praying for churches and asking God to raise up powerful preachers and powerful leaders in our area. We can pray for just kind of the localized needs that we know about. Guys, we want you just to go to resistandrescue.com, get signed up, get your name put on the map. When you go there, you'll see a map, and you'll see all the people that have already signed up and gotten involved, and they're saying, hey, I'm going to be here in this city, in this state, in this country, praying. We want you to do exactly that, to pray, not only just to put your name on the map, but actually intercede and pray for your area, for your city. For your political leaders, whatever the need is, you know more about it than we do. So we hope you check that out. Resistandrescue.com. All the information is there, and we want you to get involved. Thanks a lot, guys.